Hello again, Timeless Gamer crew. So we're going to move on to Treasure, okay? Now, anyone who's a run gun man knows who Treasure are. For their absolutely fantastic 1993 game, GUNSTAR Heroes. Now, GUNSTAR Heroes is a spectacular game. This game is something that will knock your socks off. And one of the reasons I love GUNSTAR Heroes so much is because it's one of the few games that you can actually get Nintendo fanboys to admit they'd want it on their system because it's got a bit of a Nintendo kind of colourful flamboyance to it. A lot of Sega games have, to be fair. It's just hasn't got the reputation for it. But GUNSTAR Heroes has that colourful, spectacular, a kaleidoscope approach to its presentation. But the presentation is just the presentation. It's fantastic as it is. But what makes GUNSTAR Heroes so fantastic is just so chocker, full of creativity. The entire game is, it's every single step you take is something wildly fantastic, and it even integrates that in your weapon system. Your weapon system, you can combine different types of weapons to give you different types of effects, and it's a much more creative approach than it is just your normal pick up a power up and boom, you got your weapon. So, Treasure are kind of the unsung heroes. I feel of the 90s. Everybody talks about Ray, and Ray weren't as good as Treasure. Okay, let's be honest now. Ray made some nice, a lot of some spectacular games again visually in that. But when it actually comes down to stuff like level design and challenge design, Treasure just blew them out the water, man. Blew them out the water. You look at games like Ikaruga, and Ikaruga's known as a puzzle shoot 'em up. But it's wild. It's the thinking behind it. The creative thinking is just superb. And GUNSTAR Heroes, that embodies it as well. And the other game, of course, on the Sega Mega Drive, which Treasure made so explosive and took a creative approach to things, was 1995's Alien Soldier. And Alien Soldier is pretty much again, this is a boss rush game. This is a boss rush game. You have small sections of popcorn enemies, but those small sections are really just there to replenish your energy. The actual game itself is basically 25 odds boss fights, and boy, are they spectacular. Oh my god, is this game spectacular. It is a very awkward game to get into because it's got a very unique control scheme, and it also can get a bit repetitive. That's always been my criticism in it, that some of the boss patterns feel quite samey, especially in the earlier stages. When you get past like your 10th boss, then it starts to change up a lot more, so it's a lot more fun. But the earlier stages, it does feel a bit samey. But once you master the game, you can smash them 10 bosses in no time anyway, so it's not a problem. But the game itself, when you look at how spectacular this game is, it moves so fast and so dynamic. It really, to me, this feels like a mid to late 90s arcade machine. It feels like a 32-bit game in some ways. When you look at the speed it runs at and how explosive everything is, it only slows down when you unleash a special attack, and it's in kind of keeping with that as well. Contra 3 does it on the Super Nintendo. When you press a smart one on Contra 3, the entire screen slows down, but because it's an explosion, it kind of adds to that. It gives it that feel of whoa, and it's not running in bullet time constantly like a lot of Super Nintendo's game unfortunately do. But that's what happens with Alien Soldier. When you unleash your power attack, everything like slows down for bullet time for like 2 or 3 seconds, and then you get back to the action. So it's very forgivable, and in some ways it kind of adds to it. The action itself is just spectacular. Like I say, it's incredibly unique. The way it uses power up system, the way that you're limited to a a small confined space. You know what I mean? You're not going to be jumping around on all kinds of platforms. You're not going to be ducking and diving as much. You have to. It's about basically moving from one side of the screen to another at the right time, unleashing the right attacks and blocking the enemy fire to replenish your health. It's a strange system. It takes some getting your head around, that's for sure. And it took me quite a while to get into it. But once you're into it, it is a blitzing game. It is absolutely blitzing. 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 So I would recommend you take these treasure games out because I think both of these games capture that fantastic sweet spot of the evolution from 16-bit to 32-bit. Because I just think when we got to 32-bit, people took things a bit too far. And some games become a bit boring and not quite as exciting because of it. A lot of bullet hell shooters came out because the screens could handle so much. And bullet hell shooters are great, but they're more, they're a more steady, thought orientated type of experience rather than an intense, exciting one. And these two games they got all. You can feel the later 32-bit era, all the technology and the bonuses from that era bleeding into these. You know what I mean? Kind of, they're not quite there with it, but you can feel the foundation of it there, and you can feel all the craft leading up to that, all the 8-bit and 16-bit era perfection of pure arcade excitement in both as well. So check them out because as games, they are both timeless.